questions? Let's take 2 more and then we'll sign some books. Yeah?
Have you talked about David Brin's Transparent Society idea?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
I'm sorry?
Did I miss that?
No. So it's a good question. David Brin wrote this book called The Transparent Society, whose premise is that because it's going to be technologically impossible to stop spying, hey Kevin, that our best bet is to spy on the government, right? To force the government to allow us to have the same deep look into their lives that they take into ours. And I'm deeply skeptical about this. I think that I don't understand why David believes that we can hold the government to such powerful account that we can force them to allow us to spy on them, but we can't hold them to such powerful account that we can force them to stop spying on us. I think that spying on your neighbors is corrosive. I think we don't have to look any further than former East Germany to find out what a Finnish society looks like. And it doesn't matter if everyone is spying on everyone. It's still corrosive. And if you believe in civil society and the rule of law, if you believe that it's possible to hold our rulers to account, then you can, I think, believe that it's possible to get our rulers to stop spying on us, except under limited circumstances. And I think, for example, the Electronic Frontier Foundation is doing a hell of a job with AT&T right now in calling the NSA to account for its warrantless surveillance program. I think that if you don't believe that we can cause the government not to spy on us, then it's pretty unrealistic to think that we can force the government to let us spy on them. And it's already the circumstance that any place you find yourself surrounded by little CCTVs hanging from the ceiling, chances are that if you take your camera out and start taking pictures, someone will come along and call you a terrorist or a copyright infringer, depending on the circumstances. So, the core tenet of authoritarianism is one rule for the people who make the rules and one rule for people who follow the rules. And I think that we need to make sure that we all follow the same rules, or it's just not a democracy.
Have you heard of World Surveillance Day?
World Surveillance Day? Yeah, I've seen that.
I've tried it a couple of times.
How is it? Is it fun?
I've gotten stopped by people.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo told me it was against the law to be taking photographs in
Nice.
there. I could be casing the joint.
Casing the joint.
Yeah,
right.
He was a little scary. He was a big
because
guy.
because if you were a bank robber,
I'd be right
the thing
in
that
there,
you do
right
is
in the
bring your Pentax along, rather than just get a little hidden, boutonniere camera.
Sure.
I think there's a lot to be said for things like surveillance. I've been thinking that when Posey gets old enough, we'll give her pocket money based on how many different CCTVs she can snap photos of. I think it's a good I Spy game that will serve her well later in life. It'll be impossible for her to unsee the CCTVs once they become an object of pocket money. So one more question, and then we'll sign some books.
How about on those same lines? Have you thought through look ahead to perhaps a day when an open government is seen as a basic human right, like democracy is?
I think that an open government's already seen as that right. I mean, it's there are what happens is when people do things that are not open in government. And you complain, they say, well, of course, open government is essential, but in this case, we need to make an exception. It's already accepted that, that government should be open. I mean, that the products of government should belong to the people, that the deliberations of government should be in the public eye, and so on.
Right, but even with democracy, there were steps where first landowners could vote, and then then other races could vote, and then women could vote.
Yeah, well, I expect that there will be more opening of government over the years. I mean, in Britain, we have these new transparency tools like theyworkforyou.com and Kevin, what's the Freedom of Information Act one called? Do you remember? Anyway, there's a Freedom of Information Act one. So what happens is when you sign, they scrape every new Freedom of Information request filed, and you give them keywords. So you say, like, I want to know about CCTVs. And every time the government fills a Freedom of Information request that has the word CCTV in it, you get a copy by RSS. So there are lots of really cool new tools. They Work For You takes the...
You have to pay for the report, right?
Well, no, someone else has paid for the report.
Oh, you just get a copy.
And now you get a copy, right? Because now it's in the public domain. There's a thing called They Work For You. You punch in your postal code. They tell you who your member of parliament is. They tell you how often they've spoken, how that compares to everyone else. So your parliamentarian is the third most quiet parliamentarian sitting in the House. They tell you, they give you links to everything the parliamentarian has ever said in debate, and each one of those has a comment thread hanging off of it and a button to turn it into a fax to your member of parliament. So like they say something ridiculous, you click fax this back, and it says there's this guy, dear Madam so-and-so, in respect of this comment that you made on this day, already filled in, and then you just type your message like, boy, wasn't that ever dumb? And you enter your postcode, signed a voter, and you send, and off it goes, and then they track which parliamentarians answer those faxes most. And so it's fantastic. Your parliamentarian's the 19th most apathetic parliamentarian sitting in parliament. So they've open sourced that code base, and I think there are projects in lots of places working
Can
on
you give
it.
us a name to look that up?
It's called theyworkforyou.com. They're all projects at mysociety.org. All right, let's sign some books.
Before we do, everybody check under your chair.